This is Scotty Montgomery, head football coach of the ECU Pirates, and you're listening to The Drive with Mark Panicelli on the 252 ESPN Radio Network.
And Sam Avalos. Featuring. Do you want to do featuring?
I don't know if I like featuring.
Do you want to do The Drive with Mark Panicelli featuring Sam Avalos? That puts a lot of pressure on.
I don't want to be featured.
It's The Drive
anywhere.
with Mark Panicelli featuring Sam Avalos with sampling from Michael Norwood.
Nice.
It's going to be the longest show title in history.
So we were going to break, and I was telling you guys about, and I know you guys know this story already. Many of you have already heard about the fact that Dwayne Casey's going to get the Coach of the Year award. There's two things that come from this. One, it begs us to ask, do we really need to do the voting at the end of the regular season? Because the people that vote on this are very... it's just set in stone that this is the way we're going to do it. They want it to be a regular season award, but when a guy flames out the way Dwayne Casey did, it does not look good. And to me, it looks even worse when a guy like Brad Stevens does what he's done and doesn't even get a single vote in this award, right? Am I the only person frustrated with this, or am I just being a complete homer about this?
Homer.
Really?
Homer.
So
I just could care less
about the award.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know that. I know that MVP makes a difference, and remember they used to do it right at the start of the playoffs, and then a couple times, like I think Nowitzki won it one year, and then lost in the first round.
Yeah.
It was kind of embarrassing. Then one year, who was it? Was it David Robinson won it, and they were playing against Houston. And Olajuwon just destroyed him in the playoffs. I kind of like the idea of doing it right before the playoffs. And we've been talking all year. I love pettiness and all of that. I think you ought to keep it like it used to be. And let's say James Harden won MVP. It'd be kind of cool in the playoffs. Like he's the MVP and he was playing against so-and-so who's mad that he won it, like LeBron in the finals or Curry or Durant being pissed off that he won the MVP, and they take it to him. So I think they ought to announce it between the regular season and the playoffs.
Yes, because you're right. They used to announce that right before the playoffs started.
Made for grudge matches.
Yes, I think.
I mean, again, Olajuwon destroyed David Robinson after Robinson won the MVP that year.
But, I mean, to go back to the coaches award, because you were just talking about the pettiness of the NBA, and we love that so much. I think we're seeing the pettiness from the coaches, too. How many times do you see other coaches in their pressers after they played the Celtics talk about what a great job Brad Stevens does? Right. We saw 5 minutes into the season this year, Brad Stevens had to wipe the board completely clean and change everything he did when he lost Gordon Hayward, and here they are in the Eastern Conference Finals.
And then at Game 61, they have to start over again. Because that's when Kyrie went down.
Yeah.
So now you've got to start over with the guy that was heading towards an all-NBA season.
Yeah, and ultimately when you go back to not getting even a vote for a Coach of the Year award, the ultimate trophies you want are the championships. Right. I think any player would take Finals MVP over the regular MVP if we go from an individual award standpoint. Because if you win Finals MVP, I don't – maybe somewhere in the history, some losing team got the Finals MVP. But
Jerry West.
Was it Jerry West?
Isn't he the only one to ever get it?
Okay.
Averaged like 40 a game, and they lost in 7 or something.
And I think it was to the Celtics.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, now here's the question. What you were talking about along the lines they always say is, would you rather, they do it more with football, would you rather have a Super Bowl ring or Hall of Fame, be in the Hall of Fame and never play in the Super Bowl? And I've heard Golick and all those guys debate, but that's an interesting. Would you rather be Robert Horry or Charles Barkley?
Charles Barkley. I mean, Charles Barkley.
Yeah, well, see, where do you draw the line?
I'd rather be Robert Horry.
How heavy of a contributor are you? Because I would rather be Horry because Horry
he's got like 7 rings.
Right, and if your legacy is Big Shot Bob, then like you might as well be a Hall of Famer to me. So in that situation, give me Chuck. But if I'm like, the backup left guard for some Super Bowl team,
I'm talking about a
give me the Hall of Fame.
I'm talking about a real contributor.
Yeah,
And would you?
That's tough.
I'm gonna go Hall of Fame, man. Hall of Fame.
Would you rather be Marino or was it Hofstetler one or Sims?
Yeah, or yeah.
Everyone hates Sims, so
Well,
yeah,
that's
give
a
me
different
Marino.
story.
Sims may be in the Hall of Fame because I think every guy
He's won two, I think.
yeah. But yeah, I mean it's a tough question. There's certainly though. Brad Stevens continues to surprise me.
His end of the game, was it game 4 where the 2 out of bounds plays?
It was, game 3.
Game
the win.
3.
The win in Philly.
Just phenomenal. They're absurd how good his plays are out of bounds, and everybody, the other teams and coaches go, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
They're all new. And the Celtics guys, if you watch the interviews out, they were chuckling. They were laughing, going like, this guy goes in the huddle and draws up these plays, and we're like, really? And then we come out there and they work, and they're just like, this guy's brilliant.
Well,
I mean, that last play to Horford was, I've studied it 100 times just because I'm going to steal it.
Right.
And even the one before that, where they did at the end of regulation, same thing for a layup. They're just brilliant plays.
well, it's genius. You clear out and you get,
Completely.
as we were talking about, you
All
get the
this
guy where
misdirection.
the guy's defending the pass
Oh, yeah.
instead of the basket.
And he has no idea he has no backs. And he took one guy, ran him all the way in the backcourt. I mean, he just cleared out everything. And it's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
That's the thing that frustrates me so much is I see, Boston every single time down the stretch they executed perfectly. And then Philly was down 2 last night, chance to inbound the ball. I know it was like 2 seconds left after Marcus Smart hit those free throws. And Ben Simmons just turns it over. It's just like, oh, here you go. We have a chance to maybe tie the game
and his
up, and we're just
turnover
turning
in
it
that game 3 where Horford stole it. I mean, he's standing there and making a one-handed pass, bounce pass. I mean, and the worst was J.J. Redick, who, to be honest, I root against him because he's a Dookie. And that turnover before where they threw it to him and he could not get rid of the ball quick enough and just threw it, bounced it to nobody was looking, and they went down for a layup. So I don't care.
And you like your boy JJ for having some words for McConnell last night.
Oh yeah, if I know this is the game within the game, but so I was watching it last night and I thought I saw it where they ran this play and McConnell ended up scoring, and I saw JJ like getting in his face on the way down, and then Twitter, of course, picks up on it. Right. And JJ was furious because he thought the play should have run for him. They scored. His team scored, and he was mad. And I was like, that's just everything you want to know about the brotherhood right there. Well, and I know I may be just like Mark was about Boston. I may be a little bit of a homer.
Yes,
right,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and
unfortunately, I've got Homer. I've got the Homer look going. Homer bod too much.
But a couple of Dookies that I love, Kyrie Irving, which again on 17 games, I can't be mad too mad at you.
Jason, he only played 11 games at Duke, so he didn't get fully infected.
Jason Tatum also only played the 1 year, but going to Tatum and Brown, and last night I think they were the 2 leading scorers. One's 21, one's 20. They're in the Eastern Conference Final, and remember last year saying this is where in the Eastern Conference playoffs is where we started to see the glimpses of Jaylen Brown and like, wow, there's some real potential. And then during this season, we saw a whole lot more of it, and then he certainly had to pick up the slack this playoffs, even or in spite of the injury that he suffered himself. Tatum, though, is remarkable because, again, this is a 20-year-old. I have a 20-year-old, okay? And I love him.
Right.
But, you got to imagine. I mean, everybody knows what they're like at 20 years old. Am I going to be – are you ready at 20 years old to have that sort of pressure to –
No, I'm 24. I wouldn't be able to stand it.
Yeah. Being guarded by Simmons and Embiid from time to time, and he's trying to take him to the basket. I mean, the kid is impressive. And
how about Ainge – picking Jaylen Brown, who everybody thought that was kind of weird, a reach and everything.
I hated it.
Right. I mean, you're like, why
I
are we
hated
picking
Jason
this guy?
Tatum.
Then not only picking Tatum, trading to get another chip, another bargaining chip, another pick, and picking him at 3rd. I mean, how phenomenal was Ainge? And we sat in here a year or 2 ago going, I can't believe he didn't make a move at the deadline. Why didn't he trade? And That's why we're here in New Bern, North Carolina on YouTube. And he's sitting up there in Boston getting ready for the first game. But just phenomenal patience and future forward thinking to pick those two guys.
I think that's kind of what worries me about Philadelphia a little bit, is because outside of Simmons and Embiid, there's Fultz who, we saw a couple flashes this year, but then, they decided they didn't want to use them at all during the playoffs. But other than that, there really aren't any of those pieces. There aren't any of those Roziers or Smarts, guys that were further down. But Sarge was even still a pretty high pick. Sarge was the guy who was considered a rookie of the year last year.
Right, but still, I'm just saying, they've still got a lot of good pieces. They've still got a lot of good pieces. Was it
Tatum that broke old Covington's ankles last night?
Yeah.
That play? Oh, my God.
Completely
that was nasty.
put my man on skates, I'm telling you. That was tough. I did think it was interesting that Joel Embiid, doing his press conference after the game, basically said how much he and Ben Simmons have to grow, which is kind of nice, because something that frustrated me with both of those guys was several points during the season, during the playoff series.
Yeah.
They just seemed immature and frustrated and whatever it was. They were getting inside their own heads. But he said, go back and look at Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook when they were the age of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Those guys won 28 games their first full season together. 28 games. And you see what they turned into at this point. So, I mean, hopefully these two can get along better than KD and Westbrook. But I guess you just have to understand that they're still so young.
And I like Embiid with the trash talking and the Twitter, and he's fun.
He's great.
He's fun to root for or fun to root against. Whichever way you fall, he makes the sport, he makes the games more interesting.
Yeah, I mean.
And the question is his health. I mean, is he going to stay healthy? And this year's his first real full year, and he probably to somewhat degree, hits the wall. Give him 2 more years of being relatively healthy, he'll be exponentially better in the playoffs than he was this year. And he had a good year this year.
Yeah, I think the key for them is getting that All-Star. We're talking about the future of the Eastern Conference. I mean, it's very easy for us to look ahead and we'd prognosticate that maybe Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, those guys are all NBA All-Stars years to come. Does Terry Rozier show you where he could be that? I mean, again, questionable there. But I think, again, that's where but they have Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, who are all-stars right now. Philly needs an all-star, right? So do you trade for a veteran guy, or do you try to go the Ainge route or the process route and get a younger piece? I mean, is Markelle Fultz that
you just
third
don't know
piece?
about him.
Yeah. I like Fultz a lot because, really, once he had the triple-double in 21 minutes, once I saw that game, I was like, okay, there's clearly something
he
here.
can run the team. It's what you saw. And that's what they've been lacking. They didn't have anybody to run the team during the playoffs. A lot of phenomenally talented players, but at the end of the day, you got to have somebody run your team. And that's what TJ's done so well, is when he came in there, he ran the team.
And you mentioned the veterans. How awesome has Al Horford been for the young Celtics team? Whereas the flip side of that is J.J. Redick being an a-hole to the young players of Philadelphia. So if you're going to go get a veteran, it has to be the right kind of veteran who doesn't necessarily have to be all-star caliber, but be a father figure, take you under my wing.
It was like a couple years ago when Paul Pierce played for the Bullets or Wizards or whatever.
Yeah. Right.
And they had Beal and Wall and all these great young players, and Pierce just knew his role. My role is not to get 28, but it's to get a real important 12 or whatever and teach these guys how to win. And that's what Philly thought they were getting that with JJ. And JJ had a good season, he had a good playoffs, and he fit a need for them shooting, but you're right. That's what they need, is somebody. Doesn't necessarily have to be a scorer or anything, because I think all those other guys will become better scorers, but just a tough guy, a good leader.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking because both Redick and Horford getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now Horford's deal's a lot sweeter than
I think he's locked up for 2020.
But do you know how JJ gets more money? I mean, it's not only play on the floor, but it's what you were talking about. be more of that Al Horford guy and not the being mad that you. I mean, Al Horford, what was he had 15 and 8 last night?
Yeah,
It was a very
Solid.
important 15 and 8, but
Well, and
it's
also
the little things he does, including the here. Let me put my arm around you guys and teach you something.
But and also, Embiid went for, I don't know, what do you go for, 21 or 23 or something, and
I like 28 maybe.
Okay, but even then,
Right.
holding Embiid to 21, 23, 28, it sounds funny to say holding him to that, but that's what he did, because if it's not Horford, he may go for 38.
right.
So you can have a good game and your guy dropped 25 on you. And Horford, I thought, played Embiid great all series. And if you look at the stats, Embiid probably outscored him 25 to 17 a game, and Horford did exactly what you needed him to do. Keep him at 25, not 35.
What do you think about your boy Terry Rozier as far as going? Because it's sort of like what we're talking about with Markelle Fultz. Like, we don't really know what Markelle Fultz is.
No,
I don't know if we know what Rozier is.
You've
going
got
forward.
green-colored glasses guy here.
Right.
And the only difference
I'm
between this is Linsanity played back over again instead of the Knicks.
Right.
Now we got Rosanity.
Yeah, and I thought it was great. They had
Drew Bledsoe
step to the podium last night. He owns a winery, and he said he was going to make a Terry Rosé, and it was going to have a great finish. Like, they're buying all into Terry
He showed
Rozier.
up. He showed up. He had the T-shirt on.
Yeah, the scary
he
Terry
had the
T-shirt.
scary T-shirt, which is a great T-shirt and a great nickname.
I was telling you,
That's awesome.
I think the expectation, that the realistic expectation should be, Marcus Smart's contract is about to come up. You're probably going to lose him because you don't want to pay him $22 million. So Terry, and again, you're expecting Kyrie Irving to come back. Terry Rozier is going to be a fantastic backup when Kyrie needs a breather off the bench, and I think he can get those minutes. And again, you're going to lose a little bit because he doesn't have the body of Marcus Smart. He's not going to be able to come in there and guard that wing. But one of the things we talked about, when Gordon Hayward comes back, they've got a plethora of guys that they can throw bodies at from that wing position, because they'll have Hayward, they'll have Tatum, they'll have Brown.
Well, what you got is you're giving Stevens a million options. Okay, we're going to go tall, and we're going to go offense. We're going to go defense. We're going to go where we could switch everything. That's the worst thing is giving a really good coach like that is options. Because then, good Lord, I mean, trying to prepare for him in Boston next year, so you're going to, we need to shut down Haywood. Kyrie Irving may drop 38 on you. Okay, we're going to gear everything to stopping Kyrie Irving this game. Haywood drops it, or Brown and Tatum. They're going to be scary good next year, I think.
That's what I think too.
And Boston's in such good position to keep this core together.
Yeah, got them on the contract.
Yeah, well, and this year they had the 15th lowest payroll in the entire NBA. They're clearing $7 million off of that payroll for next year.
Yeah.
And then 2 years from now, I think their payroll's only at like $87 million, which is nothing compared to a Cleveland team that's spending, I think, like $137 million on this roster that they have this year. So Boston, I mean, I don't know if they're going to pay Marcus Smart because they don't want the long-term commitment. And I think with having drafted him, he's due for one of those supermax if he wants it. Like, they would have to give him even more money. So I think you're going to see Smart walk, but then you're going to have the money to pay Rozier if you want to keep him around. You're going to have the money to pay Tatum.
Kyrie Irving's only got one more year left on his deal, right?
And the
And he's a
assumption
max
is
guy. He's
you're
a
going to
max
want
player.
to go ahead and put that contract together because you've kind of invested in Kyrie being a part of the team. So but they're in good shape. I mean, I think they're in good shape. We got to see where Cleveland's going to be and who's going to be on Cleveland, because that's an interesting thing. In fact, we need to take a break right now, but we have our final four teams. Western Conference Finals will start Monday. The Eastern Conference Finals start Sunday afternoon, actually.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll make our predictions for the final four of the NBA playoffs.